Yes, let's do it, not to worry.
Hello, dear. How are you?
Very well. How are you doing?
Fine. I love these technologic things.
Fantastic.
So welcome to my lovely country, Istanbul now. So I'm talking from my lovely Istanbul studio. Hello everyone. I am Funda İYDİR. I have a program named Funda İYDİR Talks. Now today I have a lovely friend from United States, and I call him James, but I mean technically named as a Anurag. So welcome, and well, actually we are really curious about to get to know you and your this CEO adventure. Now,
Same
your
here.
turn. Yeah.
No, same here. I think it is exciting to, be a part of this conversation.
Thank you.
We live so far from each other, yet it's such a small world. Anything that changes here affects you, and anything that changes there affects me.
Yeah. Actually, I have questions, James. Um, let's just talk about a little bit about you. Where are you from? How long have you been living in the United States? Where do you live in the United States? And what made you to go to the United States? And what was the first decision that you made to live in the United States?
Certainly, certainly. I think, the choices are never easy,
Mm.
and no textbook tells you what to do in life. Yeah. The textbook only tells you, how to learn science or how to learn math, or, and yet you have to figure out who you are. I think is the first thing want to know. And I think those are the two key questions that each one of us, ask ourselves as we go to our, schools. And the sooner you get the answer to those, it's good. Growing up in India is never easy. It's a country of 1.3 billion people, right? And who are very competitive for one reason or the other. So it makes it exciting at the same time. The time really goes very quickly. Um, and so as you get into high schools, that's where you start to understand who you are, in the sense that what you like to do from a education standpoint. Okay, I hate math, but I like biology, or I don't like cockroaches, but then I like math. Therefore, I want to become an engineer. Is the typical logic people go through in their high schools. Back in the days, in the early 90s, we didn't have much internet like what we have today. I mean, the phones were rotary dial phones, so the information flow was quite limited. So you cannot understand what's going on outside of India when you don't have the global world, the connectivity that we have today. Due to lack of that information, they think about, well, what is a good school to do your undergraduate studies in India, and I was lucky enough to get elected into the best university in India, which was IIT Bombay. I spent 4 years there, learning material science, and yet not knowing anything about how to apply that to real world. Because again, the books don't teach you how to deal with life. Um, and as you finish, your undergraduate school, the next thing that just comes to your mind is, where one can find a job, right? Um,
Your
and
undergraduate.
those are tactical decisions. And I took that call, and took a job in a local steel manufacturer. I worked there for a year, and it became very clear that my heart belonged somewhere else. I see that quite a few folks are joining. Yeah,
Yeah, yes,
that's very exciting.
yeah, it is. Well, um, I have other questions. I mean, actually, I really wonder India, and which is making me excited about that. You know, it's a poor country. At the same time, it's the richest country in the world. I mean, everything is created there, and everything can develop in mind, in soul. eh, Technically, you can reach everything. And you didn't find any opportunity to live in India, and you may be having a good role or career path in India. Why United States? What made you to take United States to work there? Money,
Yeah,
career plan,
yeah.
or you
No,
just
it
want.
never it, it never is. U.S. is a country of innovation and entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And that is the big difference, I think, between US, Canada, and of the Western countries like UK, Germany, and the rest of the world, is that there is a great deal of focus on innovation, technologies, and then leading, changing the world. And that's what doesn't happen in many countries, like India, on a routine basis. And so I actually first, went to Canada, um, and I did my master's and PhD in Canada, in Winnipeg, um, in aerospace materials. And when you do your higher education in any place, it becomes very stereotypical education. Whereas in Canada, when I discussed with the professor that I want to learn something practical, I don't want to waste time just doing master's and PhD degree in a theoretical area. And they agreed, and they arranged a program where I can actually solve the real life problem in the companies working on my education. And that was something I was really after, and that made my decision to do my, spend a good 6 years of my life finishing the highest form of education in doctorate in Canada, but then also really learning what real life problems are and how to look at them and how to solve them. And as I finished my PhD in Canada, I mean, Canada is 1/10 of the size of United States, and the opportunities are also small. So obviously, in the U.S., General Electric company at that time used to be the world's largest company. Asked me to work for them in their transportation division, and I ended up in the U.S. That's simple as that.
Uh, Jamie, I I want to ask you. I mean, I remember my first day in Los Angeles, which was really exciting. And can you just tell me how was your first day in the United States and how was the language? I mean, I'm really curious that your guys, Indian guys, really brave and really. I mean, you have a self-esteem to really speak this language. I mean, did you have any difficulties with the first day of
Yeah.
United States?
Oh, certainly. Because you kind of learn a language, in terms of the ability to write it, and that's how English sort of goes. And to be able to come to US, you have to clear exams like SAT, GMAT. They're all in English, and TOEFL, and you do that, and yet what gets missed is the spoken English, the ability to speak, the communicate. And to me, in life, in real life, the difference between success and a normal life is just the ability to communicate and speak good English. And that was the biggest challenge the first day. I mean, in terms of really understanding people around you, it just appeared that everybody had a very unique accent. And if you pay attention to the accent, then you miss the words. If you pay attention to the words, then you don't get the accent. And so it's when you do not understand somebody, you can never respond to them well enough, right? So the first few months were very difficult.
I mean, I really didn't understand their accent. I mean, I was so surprised. Like, what's that? What's going on? What's wrong? What's wrong, baby? So,
Exactly.
when they say
And there's so many
something,
slangs. Just the language has so many slang words that, in normal word, 10 different ways. And so what you think is the meaning is not necessarily the meaning the way the word is used in a particular sentence. So it was all fun starting to learning to calibrate myself, right? Once you calibrate yourself with the local tones, the slangs, then you start to enjoy it. And once you enjoy it, I mean, then there is no stopping, as we all know. Yeah.
actually, there is one question. Alper, thanks for it. What is the key to be successful in USA? Talking fluent English is a must.
Clearly US and other Western countries is a land of opportunities, right? So you have to have a competency first. So without a competence, you just can't make it here, right? So you have to be good at one thing. And then the ability to tell anybody else how good you are requires that one language, which is English. So spoken English is very important. The ability to understand English, interpret fast, but then speak slowly is the most important requirement to succeed here. Yeah.
I have really, I'm really wondering actually. I have known uh, many people that they live in United States for long, long, long, long years. So how long have you been living abroad?
Yeah, it's about 20 years in the US. So it just feels like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I know. When I left United States, I mean, it's just 20 years back. Oh my goodness. I mean, time is flying very fast. Okay, just
Exactly.
so I just want to know that how long have you been speaking English before 20 years?
Yeah, what happens is I think in our native countries, I mean, we do not focus on speaking English. Yeah, we understand, but we don't. So as soon as you come here, you have to speak all the time. So that means 20 years. Yes. In the 20 years, what happens is you start to pick different accents. You start to have a language that makes everybody around you very comfortable with who you are, right? And that's the key. So they know who's a tourist and who's not a tourist, right? Someone who belongs to them. So to be able to belong to any place like US, it'll take you a good 5 years.
And actually, you have studied in India. Uh, you know, you're uh, kind of. I know. Actually, I watched many movies, and you studied in BTech, which is material science and engineering, which is your like a master of technology, uh,
Yeah,
and graduated from this universities department. I mean, I know that you have
yeah.
worked in many companies, which is worldwide and international and global companies. And I think Alper is really wondering about, as I understood
Mhm.
from his question, let me check again. So what is the key of to be successful in United States? Is, is it about language, how you express yourself, or working a lot?
I think that when international immigrants, right, come to the US, first of all, it's important to recognize that US is a country built on immigrants. So the 350 million people who live here never lived here 300 years ago, right? So they are all immigrants to this country. Um, and that's the basis. So it's expected that everybody's coming in at some point in time. Come in here, then you are expected to contribute to the economy. There are a lot of jobs, all kind of jobs for everybody. Only in the US, working at any place, being an electrician, being a plumber, being a nurse, is all considered great jobs. So there is no job people look down upon anybody. Everybody is equal. They get a lot of benefits. If you go into any neighborhood, if you look into a neighborhood and there is 100 homes, and when you talk to 100 people, they will be doing a whole range of jobs. So that's how US is built on, is a mixture of people doing everything. From my personal standpoint, if you have done, spent tons of years doing a lot of education, then you want to work on some challenging problems, solving some challenging issues in life. And so I was lucky enough to get inside, get General Electric company excited into me. And I worked at 3 different electric businesses: GE Aviation, that makes aircraft engines, GE Transportation Systems, that makes locomotives, and then GE Healthcare, that makes machines like CT, MRI, scanners. And these are high technology products, right? They're very expensive, which means they have to be built very well. And you can't have any accidents. You cannot imagine a GE airplane, with a GE engine coming down. How complex it becomes the problem, right? When Airlines planes goes down, I mean, the GE people do not sleep at night because they want to know why the plane went down. Was it because of our engines, right? So every design that I was part of was very special. When you think about the locomotive business, the engine that pulls the whole locomotive. Back in the days, in early 2000, there used to be a 360 room, and every locomotive in the world we can see running on the track. If the locomotive is not running in the right gear, we can, from that distance, change the gear of the locomotive and make it run better. And so those were the challenges we were solving all along. But then markets go in cycles. Every 3 years the locomotive stops selling, right? And so in a large company, a chance to move around. And so from locomotive business, and I moved to GE Healthcare. And healthcare, again, a very exciting company, solving big healthcare problems all over the world. And so we developed quite a bit of new products all along. And as you do so in your career, you have to show not only you can solve a problem, but you can lead people. So after the first 10 years, then I started to lead people, manage people, right? So you become a team leader, then you become a manager, then you become a general manager, then you become a vice president. That's how this country awards you, regardless of your race and color. You can become anybody. If you look at the CEO of Google, Microsoft, they're all Indians. And you can get there. You just have to believe in yourself.
Cool. Actually, I also wonder that which is my motto. English is not a lesson. What do you think?
Precisely. You mean English as a language, or English can be taught? Can you be more clear?
Actually, my motto is: don't think English is a lesson. English is not a lesson. It's a tool to communicate with people like us today, and to enjoy, to have a better communication style with other people. I mean, using this language as a tool, as an instrument, to just like playing like an
Yeah, I
instrument.
mean, agree. I in my different jobs, I travel all over the world. I drive in 62 countries in the world, and it is not easy because I don't know, 100 languages, right? I know four, five, six languages. And so clearly, if you go to China, or if I'm in Brazil, or if I'm in any corner of the world, um, English is a beautiful language in the sense that you can always find every person speaking few words of it somehow. And that just allows you to break the ice, to connect a little bit. And after that, it becomes easy. Yes, it is an absolutely fantastic tool, a very flexible language that really allows two people to connect. Um, yeah, I agree with you.
I have another question. How long? Yeah, you have been living in United States for many years, and as a manager, as a general manager of GE Health, I know that you never have gone to your country. So, did you miss your country? I mean, did you any?
No, I think it's a good question. I think there is a deeper meaning to this question that you're asking.
I
It
know.
is not necessarily about missing the country, but it is about who you are, right? You become an American. I'm a citizen of Canada, US, and India, right? But that's just the paper, right? But are
Yeah,
you
I
an
know.
American? Are you an Indian? Are you a Canadian? There is no right answer. There is no wrong answer, right? But sometimes you feel you're missing something, right? As you mentioned, Funda, India is a country of culture, and I miss not being connected to the culture, right? The next generation of me, yes, they will get used to, they will call themselves as Americans, right? But I'm always wondering who I am, and am I missing something in life? And yes, I'm missing quite a few awesome things, and you have to live with it.
I have to comment that when I was living in United States, I didn't really come back to my country for 4 years. So when you just keep yourself long time in another country, uh, so you don't have any room to stay in another country because you miss something which you belongs to you actually. I mean, that's why I guess people are going back to their country. It's not about culture or other things. It's about we miss, I think, our past or relationship, food, especially me, I miss a lot of my family and food because when I was living in the United States, I mean, the food was not really good and we couldn't find even in Los Angeles. Um,
Hmm.
well, how do you get along with your coworkers, team? I mean, because you all work with international people. I mean, you work with Chinese, you work with Japanese, with Turkish, and other people. So how are your coworkers? How do you get along with them?
Sure. At the end of the day, everybody is a human being, and they all want to be respected. They all want to be listened to. And so, if you listen well to others, if you understand what their concerns are, if you tell them what you can do for them, right, they will do anything for you. And this has always worked for me. In the early career, I was a single contributor, right? But then I
Mhm.
grew to become manager and lead. And when you have, hundreds and hundreds of people working underneath you in your organization, right? You have two ways of relating to your coworkers. You can tell them what to do, or you can ask them what is the right thing to do. And my approach is always to have open-ended questions about what excites them, what they would like to do, and how they think that problem should be solved. And they go about doing it, and you let them do what they want to do, and they are accountable and responsible for their decisions. And that just builds a more healthy team for the long term, for the better of the company. So if you ask the organizations that I've led, they will tell me that, I mean, he is a very tough boss, but a very kind boss, and somebody who's helped them grow in their careers all along, and help them see things that they could not see on their own.
Uh, well, there is one another. They you have some fans here, so they want to say hello. and another one instrument. They like it. So one is Servet. Thank you for the question and comment. I'm very curious about India. So maybe after pandemic you can visit. Okay, actually one
Yeah, I
question.
can
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I can read the question. Do you want me to answer those?
Yeah, please.
Sure. Yeah, I mean the the question really is, are you already in the US or you are elsewhere
No,
first, right? So there
he
is
lives in
answers.
Istanbul. I think he's just
Okay,
asking as a question. I mean, for
sure.
example,
Um,
if
so
you're an expert,
right, I think the thing to do clearly it depends on the age group, where you are. So if you are a youngster, a teenager, a high schooler, right? There is some things you want to do where at that age it's much easier to learn a language, but don't learn it just for a check mark. Learn it to be able to speak, right? But then how do you
hmm,
speak if nobody speaks around you? So you try to make some friends who you can talk and practice, but then you also make pen pals, right? In US or in UK that you can speak to. If you are a advanced individual, having a career and working in a job, so then your requirements are different, right? You already have a busy life, you have a job, you have your family and things. um, and so at that stage, if you think that you want to move to the US, you have to network. Without network, nothing happens. You cannot apply for a job that is posted, online, right? So LinkedIn.com, I think is the world standard, right? Where all the professionals are. And so the key is to connect with um, higher order managers in the US, right, through LinkedIn. But again, English is the only language. So there is no excuse. One has to find local English teaching, teacher, right? And really decide to focus on it, because half effort does nothing. Either you learn English well and speak well or do not. But if you do it, the rewards are absolutely 1000 times. The return on learning English, in my experience in life, is 1000 times you're going to make more money the time and money you spent in learning English. It's very simple.
I want to add on this. Uh, I have coaches, students, I have learners all around the world. Uh, we all practice English. I mean, when we speak with them, I always advise them to find somebody around you and get rid of your fears and just speak it. I mean, you don't need anybody to practice. Just if you see anyone then that can speak English, even though I mean, you go for it. You ask for it. I mean, don't wait anyone to speak with you. So there are some questions. So it's coming. Let me ask you. So we have many questions. So how is working with other cultures and nations?
I think it's great deal of fun because you learn so much. When I travel in Latin America and I go to, Chile, Peru, Brazil, and I do so many cool things with them. First of all, I drive everywhere. I get myself into all kinds of trouble, but then I make so many friends. They take me around. We play, soccer or football with them. If I go to Caribbean islands, I make friends there that, we go fishing, spear fishing in the ocean. There's no fun other than in like, doing spear fishing. Yeah. And so I think every culture has so much to offer. The key is to do some research, know about that culture a little bit, and then connect in a way that, you make real friends, not a virtual friend etc., etc. If it
Okay, for example, I worked with many global companies, as you know, the one we work together. And while I was working with them, I saw them, they are looking for a friend to speak with. And if you're a local person and they are really waiting you to talk, and as a manager, you live in United States, and how things are going actually. I mean, how did you adapt the culture and the company? For example, General Electric. Uh,
right. Yeah, I mean, I think that what I've noticed is the immigrants who come to the US, they are already overqualified, and then they perform a lot more than the locals because they always believe that they have a point to prove. They have something to prove, right? So they put in more hours, more focus. Some work on the weekends, and by putting in more effort, you obviously you have more output and more outcomes, right? So as you are producing outcomes, in the US, every company only works in teams. So there are no individual contributors. Anything you design is a group of people together, which means if you are designing a wheel of a car, a another person who is designing the engine depends on the speed at which you design the wheel. And so there is an automatic relationship between the team members and the dependents, right? And all these people invariably are from different cultures. All the young people in engineering companies in the US, they come from all over the world, right? Um, they have practiced different approaches, different standards, right? They think differently. Everybody wants to succeed, though. That one thing is common between all the people. Everybody wants to succeed. So to that regard, if you are able to contribute those individuals in a way that you can help them succeed, right? Then they start to connect with you. So that connection is very important to feel confident in a group. The next group are the local Americans, the white Americans that we call them, right? Now they are very polished, right? The managers, most of the managers are American managers. When they say something, they always talk very sweet, right? And yet the real interpretation of that language, again, English, yeah, is they mean something behind it. And if you do not understand the methodology of the American language, you don't get the essence of that communication. Um, for example, a manager would say, "Hey, I think you've been doing a good job, right? But we need to release that report, first thing tomorrow morning." And one way to interpret this sentence is, "Well, I've been doing a great job." But the real message is you have been late in delivering the report and it must go tomorrow morning. So the same message has different meaning than what you think the message is coming in. Yeah. So therefore, you have to start to understand how the locals communicate, what they really mean, what they're saying. And unless you get that, you're not going to succeed here.
okay,
Does
is
it
it
make
easy?
sense?
Yeah, is it easy to live abroad?
I think it's very easy to live. It's a free country. You can do anything you want. In terms of, if you follow all the rules, you can be, I can be working in 3 different cities throughout the week, and Friday night evening I buy a very cheap flight and I can be on a beach, right? And at the same time, if you think you want to ski, you can fly north and go skiing. I mean, in the next few days. So it's a beautiful place to live. Food. There is nothing called American food, right? But it's a country of immigrants, which means in any city you have restaurants from every corner of the world, right? So if you are a foodie, right, you can experience all kind of culinary styles that you can dream about, right? So that's the luxury you have. And then it's a country of sports. I mean, so weekend, you just go and you can join any club, you can play any sport you want. So yes, I mean, absolutely to have a lot of fun while really proving yourself is equally important.
Okay, James, did you change your eating habits because you're Indian? You have many Indians in United States. I think you didn't change your eating style.
Well, I guess you have to adapt because when you go to work, your office colleagues, I mean, again, are locals, and you have to go out to lunch with them, right? You can't just sit in one corner and have your own lunch box because they will notice you're not trying to integrate. Integration is the key. You have to absolutely integrate to the mainstream, right? So you have to make effort. You have to take people out because you got to break the ice, break the barriers. So easiest way to do that is to take people out for lunch, like we always do, right?
No,
Or together and do some sports and so on. So then you have to change what you eat.
I know this motto. If you're a professional, if you're doing business,
Yeah,
do not eat lunch alone. So it's a networker motto, I guess.
that's
Actually, I
exactly right.
changed my eating habits when I was in the United States because I cooked in my house and I went out, of course, and I prepared my lunch to my school. Everybody was asking, "Oh, are you working in Subway?" But I said no, actually. So I have another question. I mean, I just gained some fat when I was in United States, so I have to do something to balance my weight. That's why.
Mhm.
I have another question actually. I mean, what are the difficulties of being abroad and working as an expat? I mean, I know that I work with many people and they are really curious about, is it easy? Uh, what type of difficulties they can face up? And what
Sure,
things can be difficult for them? Or maybe not, who knows?
sure. Well, I think the first thing is the status. And there are a lot of immigrants in the US today, close to 50 million who who are not the citizen of the country, right? And the process of getting a green card is a very difficult process. And then many years after that to become a citizen. And unless you're a citizen, um, there are a lot of challenges. You can't vote, obviously, but then in terms of finding another job is not so easy. Um, and there are other places, where you see challenges when you don't have the right paperwork. So that is one challenge that happens in the career of all immigrants. Beyond that challenge, I think the key is getting accepted, right? Uh, the feeling of
Hmm.
I belong here. Am I accepted in my community, right? Does my neighbor come and talks to me, right? Not just at the work, but at home where you live, right? um, do I dress differently? Do I dress like how people dress here, right? So these are a lot of small decisions that people have to take to integrate, right? The religion is different, right? And the accents are different. So how do you make effort to harmonize things that others see you as a part of the system, right? And that's when you are integrated well. Is the goal. But to get to the goal, there are so many frustrations and difficulties that come along, right? For example, you can go into a gas station, to put gas in your car, and when you go inside and you communicate to the individual there, right, and you're driving your car and you're going through a southern state like Tennessee, where the accents are very thick, and you're trying to tell the guy, hey, I want this and I want that, and the person will not understand what you're saying. Neither are you understanding what they're saying, right? um, and then you start to feel frustrated, right? So there are little issues, but then there are bigger issues that can happen where you can't get promotions at work. You cannot find another job, right? To buy a house, you need, all kind of right paperwork in place. Um, and then, of course, when you travel internationally, you have to have the right status. So those are the normal challenges that I can think of, that people face. Mostly, the biggest challenge is always being accepted as a part of the society, right? Is not an easy challenge to deal with.
Actually, I wonder, what I wonder is not about, green card and other things. I mean, I'm not really interested in. For example, I just saw one question. It will appear now, I guess. So, for example, we want to Turkish people. In our country nowadays we are having some difficulties, uh, like any other country. But some talented people are looking for new jobs, and I guess
Hmm.
they want to work and find a job in United States. For example, computer engineers and software engineers, and mostly engineers are thinking to move another country and finding
Hmm.
another opportunity to live, to work, to have a better future for themselves.
Yeah,
And so I was just wondering, really, I mean, as an expat, to live there, to deal with people, and to maybe uh, have a better future in United States, what can they do? I know
sure.
the answer, but
Um,
I want to hear from you.
sure. I brought some facts with me. I was looking at the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, and what this report says as to this is 2020 year, which professions are going to grow the fastest in the United States in the 10 years. So the the the top of the list is wind turbine technician. Yeah. The next is the solar photovoltaic engineer. What this means, the world is going green, right? Which means we are trying to get away from traditional energy sources, right? We're going to capture sun's energy, wind's energy, right? So there'll be tons of wind farms and solar farms. Every house will have solar cells installed on top of them. So these technicians who can do this, there is so many, the jobs are going to double and they can't find people, right? The next is nurses. I come from GE Healthcare. The hospitals are really short of nurses, and so people think that this is not a great job, but a nurse, being a nurse at a hospital, is the funnest of the job. You meet with your customers. It's a simple job, but then the starting salary is very high, and the occupation is going to double in the next 10 years. So there is this whole list of careers that will grow really fast in the US, right? Data security, you mentioned IT. Data security, analyst, data analyst. These are jobs that are going to grow like crazy and they can't find people, right? With this COVID or Corona that is going on right now, has changed the world a bit. How it has changed the world in the sense that more and more people are going to work from their homes than work from their offices, which means they're going to use more software to work, to connect. All these software in every company requires to be solid and tight, that nobody can hack them. So the data security is huge. So there'll be so many jobs in this space. If you pick IT, Python is one of the language to supplement a lot of these things. You have a great chance, right? So picking a right education is number one, and then number two, from there, develop your English communication, and then number three is networking. If you don't network well with the big leaders in the US using LinkedIn, then you're just applying for a job, and that's not easy. So networking is very important. The one of the easy methods of the US is always through education. So which means, um, I'll tell you how China is doing it. because they are the most advanced country in terms of coming to the US, and they're very serious about it. So they don't only just they do not come here only for the masters and PhD or the higher degree. They have been coming for years for the undergraduate degree. Now they realize that the topic of this meeting here is language and communication. Is China feels that they are at a greatest disadvantage when it comes to really learning English and integrating into US society. So what parents are doing in China is they are sending their kids as young as 12, 13, 14 to do the high school in the US. Every high school now is giving a special visa for a fee. The fees is not enough, not very cheap, right? But now these Chinese students are coming to all high schools. They're studying here with the only goal to improve English and integrate into the society. And after that, they move into undergraduate
Ah,
and other degrees and they become part of the society.
uh, James, there are many questions. Now let's just look at them. And one question is, why did you choose to live and work abroad? Why not in India?
Because
There
here I'm
are-
able to live my dreams.
Your
You know,
dream.
I dreamt about a lot of things in life, and anything you dream about becomes real in this country.
Okay. So your
No,
dream.
the American dream is real because to make any dream come true, right? You want to become a leader in something. You want to be respected by lots of people. You want to have lots of money to do anything you want to do, right? And
Mhm.
the freedom to change anything, to immediately go to another place, do another activity, settle anywhere, go anywhere in the world is what I have achieved here and I do on a routine basis. And I call that as American dream.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for the broadcast. How is the social relationship in daily life in USA, neighborhoods, and friends?
It's a good question. It's a good question. The thing is, US is a young country, also because it's a country for immigrants, right? So young people are coming in all the time. The young people like to do a lot of activities. If you any town you go, as soon as you get out, tons of activity going on, lots of sports, lots of restaurants, bars, and communities where people interact. So it's and the university, it's the most vibrant culture across US. In any town you will have 10, 20, 40, 50 universities, right? So this is a place where people interact, become friends, do all kinds of activities together. In the town that I live, I do quite a bit of hiking in the mountains. I do active running in the morning. In fact, I run quite a bit. I run half a marathon 5 times every week in the morning by the river. And when I run, there is at least 100 runners in the morning at 5 a.m. We all know each other. We know our names. We sit together. We have coffee at different times. We check timing. Different times how you're performing on this race. There's another race happening somewhere else. It just becomes and creates a community, you know. So the social relationships are very open, very balanced, and very strong here.
Well, it's just you share the same hobby. That's why I guess you share the same hobby. Okay, so somebody's thinking the same like me. Okay, I don't know what was it, but okay. So one question, Nejla is asking another question. I guess. Okay, what is the difference? Did you notice between USA and Canada? Okay, in Turkey, I know that many people really dreaming to live in Canada or United States. Uh, I noticed that they really like to live. So, so you have lived both countries and you have experienced both of them. Can you just tell us the difference as an Indian and
No, certainly,
as a United States citizen?
I didn't tell you about the biggest problem I faced when I went to Canada, because the US was the topic of discussion, right? I come from a small town in India, in the center of the country, which is the hottest city in India. So we see temperatures 45, 47, 50 degrees Celsius. From there, I went to a town called Winnipeg in Canada. Winnipeg is the coldest city in entire North America.
Hmm.
So in Winnipeg, between January 1 and March 30, for example, back in the days, the lowest temperature, the warmest temperature was minus 30 Celsius. That's the warmest. And then it goes below that, right? So to go from a hottest city to a coldest city in the world was a very difficult transition, right? Yes, this is a land of dreams, but it comes with a lot of cost and a lot of pain. And I had to go through all of that to really get used to living here, right? It's not easy. In practical terms, Canada, is 35 million people. US is 350 million people, right? But the land size is same. Canadians are socialist, right? Like Europeans, like French, like German governments. So they take care of everybody. US, on the other hand, is the super capitalist country in the world, right? Which means they let you make money as much as you want, um, and they expect you to do different things. They expect you to use this much money to make more money and more money. That's US culture, right? Canadians are very peaceful. They have no guns. In the US, we have lots of guns, right? um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, there are a lot of issues with US that are not there in Canada. Canadians are
Mm.
very peaceful, very fun-loving people, and it's just a great experience going to
Okay,
Canada. It's
goodbye.
very easy to immigrate to Canada compared to US. What was that,
Thank you.
Funda?
I'm going to Canada. See you soon.
Yep,
Are
I'll
you
come with you.
promoting Canada? Huh? Are you promoting Canada?
And I think I'm just giving the objective differences between the country, but the opportunities are limited, right? So small
Hmm.
country, less opportunities. US has all the opportunities, right? So you have to weigh between the two.
Okay. Cyrus is mentioning that Canada is a cold country. Yeah, I think so. I live in the, west of United States, hot around 40 degrees. So I think he's right about it. Which part of the Canada you have lived?
Yeah, I mean, Sarvat, the thing about Canada is it's got the center land is called prairies. Uh, Canada is only 7 states, right? Unlike US is 50 states. So I lived in
Hmm.
the center belt above Minneapolis, and we have prairies, and the cold wind just blows up, right? So the city where I lived next to it, you drive 30 minutes and you see polar bears, right? That's how cold it is. Um, and then if you go to the far east is Toronto. In our accent, we call it Toronto. And then when you go to the west, that's where you have Vancouver. So Toronto and Vancouver are the largest cities, and they are fairly warm. So they are not cold. They are amazing cities to move to.
Yeah. Okay. What did companies learn from COVID-19 and what is changed in now he's not working in GE. Do you know what's happening in GE?
Yeah, I know everything about GE. Yes. Yeah. The I think that what companies are learning from COVID, right, is the buying behavior of the world has changed, which means you cannot take your customers for granted anymore. And so,
Garan- You
um,
mean nobody is
um,
guaranteeing?
yeah, for example, if you think about aviation, right? Airplane industry was doing so well before COVID, right? But now people don't want to fly, right? Because of that, 67% of planes are on the ground, right? Uh, so therefore, they have now cut the capacity quite a bit and changed the whole way of flying experience in future. Oil and gas industry, right, is completely was already down from the oil shock that started in 2014, 15, and COVID. Basically, people stopped driving, right? So
Mm.
given these things, COVID has really impacted industries, and now the only way to respond to this is to think about when the business is going to come back. Meanwhile, you want to cut your cost, quite a bit of your cost to survive. And then as the economy recovers, then you start to, benefit from it. Now, specific to GE, GE has a lot of issues. Unfortunately, I worked at GE for 15 years, so I know GE very, very well, and have lots of stocks, so I follow GE. But GE is a company, 130-year-old company, has made some very big mistakes in the last 20 years, and you cannot fix them. For example, the debt. The Every company has good asset, bad asset. The worst thing about any company is what is called a debt, DEBT, right? How much loan you have. GE's loan that they have to pay is $120 billion, which means just to service the debt, every month you have to pay X billion dollars, right? So huge problems with GE at this stage. And not only that, their business is GE Aviation that makes engines for airplanes. Now airplanes are not flying. So the entire profit tanked of the company, right? The GE Power or energy business is also not needing to produce enough energy. There is overcapacity. So GE is struggling. It will take them 10 years to really decide, define who they are, and they have to change.
Uh, Actually, I've been thinking about some interviews, and they try to push some people to ask them to go to their head office to work there. And even in Turkey, most of companies, they start to work from beginning of June. And even though some computer engineers and software engineers are working in their office, now Sarvik is
Hmm.
starting that he is also working. He's as a computer engineer. So as an engineer, I'm asking you, how things can change, or how we all can change this system. Do we have to go to office to work properly, or we should stay home and protect ourselves from COVID, or we should live with this disaster?
I think it's a balancing act, right? The key is that we cannot give. If you get COVID, you're going to give it to somebody, right? And that's the biggest sort of moral question dilemma that we all have, right? So in the US, where we never shut down, I've been going to my office forever this year, right? Always. But then you have to wear mask, you have to social distance, right? And you have to be responsible. Now, um, the business cannot stop, because if you stop supporting your customers, then you get into more trouble.
I have protection now. I have this one. Thank you, Özge, for this.
Nothing to worry. No, I really like it. So for if we don't, this is the hardest time for everybody. So this is a time to deliver more, to really understand. If you're working for a company as an engineer, you think about, well, my job is this, but think about how your company is struggling right now, right? Big struggle. Can you help your company more than your job? You have to think about how you can help your company, right? Next is your customers. even though you may directly work for your customer or not work for your customers, can you do something to connect with your customers, right? And help your company keep them, right? Understand your customers' needs better and help adjust your offering, your products, right? That will suit the future customer. After COVID, what they would want. So certainly engineers have a lot to think and change and deliver in a way that number one, they can save their company, and then secondly, they can win more customers because they understand the need of the future customers.
Now it's
If it
midnight.
makes sense, yeah.
Yes, yes. Now it's midnight in Turkey, and it's Friday. Do you want to add something on this lovely conversation? First of all, I really want to thank you that this 1 hour conversation is really, really a great opportunity. Some people to learn about living abroad as a foreigner, and we are not speaking English language as a native speaker. So thanks for all this lovely conversation. If you like to add something, we are happy to listen more.
Sure. Just few things. I think that never give up, dream big, always chase your dreams, and help. We do not like to take help, but it is totally okay to ask for help. Nobody asks for help. Anybody will ask me for help, I will help, and everybody does. So ask for help in the form of networking and achieve your dreams.
Sarvit is telling you, I guess. Sarvit is typing you. I'm looking for a job, and I'm a software engineer. If you have any opportunity, I would like to accept it. So
And what we could do is, yeah, he could reach out to me on WhatsApp, and I can give him an idea on realities of life and how to navigate this, right?
Okay, thank you. It,
Thank
it's a
you. Thank you,
pleasure.
Funda, and thank you, viewers. Yeah. I think the best part of this forum is to make friends, and I think I made some friends today, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody. Have a good night and have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye. I think it's 4 or 5 p.m. now in your city now. For us, good night.
Yeah. Yes, it's 5 p.m. Yes,
Oh, thank you.
exactly. I'm conscious of that. Good night, guys.
Uh, we are
Bye bye.
receiving some notes. Thank you. Herkese dinledikleri, thank you for listening.